call the November Livingston County Board meeting to order. And with that, we'll have the invocation by Pastor Joel Payne.
Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings you have provided to our communities. Thank you for life and the measure of health that you have provided for us to help us fulfill our earthly callings. Thank you to have the abilities to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. In the scripture you have said that citizens ought to obey their governing authorities, and since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice, therefore I pray for this council, I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amidst the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, a personal peace in their lives and joy in their task, a personal protection of their lives and health, a covering over their families. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our communities. Let all that we do bring you joy as we do our best to serve you and our fellow man. In your Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
What I thought was really appropriate is you were given that invocation. The church bells start right in on time, so we had a good connection there. Thank you. Okay, our own Patrick Killian will lead us in the pledge to the flag. Please stand. Now, if we could have roll call vote, please.
Sure. Vietti. Yes. Bunning. Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls. Here. Steichen. Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian. Here. Kestner.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Here.
Allen. Here. Arbogast. Weller. Gimbel. Carly. Holt.
Here.
Runyon.
Here.
Mays.
Here.
Heath. Weber. Young.
Here.
Yoder.
Here.
Fannin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we approve the agenda, there's a couple of things I'd like to do. I'd like to move our property committee report to the first thing on the committee report, and I'd like to move public health as the second thing, and then pick up with finance. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Something wrong? Jason? No. Oh. Approval of minutes. Ingalls?
Second.
Fannin? Any comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, thank you. Now comes a time that we're always happy to celebrate. Too much of the time we hear a lot of negative about Livingston County, and seldom do we hear all the good things that go on, and I think there's probably far more good things. But tonight, we certainly have two people that have worked very, very hard for achievements in their field. And before we read the resolution, I've asked Mr. Paul Ritter, as a county board member, to please introduce the appropriate people from Pontiac High School. Mr. Ritter.
Mr. Chairman and board members and
members of our audience, it gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce our next two individuals. I'm very fortunate that I get to spend part of my day working alongside these two, and it's very exciting, the accomplishments that have been taking place. So if you don't mind, I'd like to have Mr. Gary Bruner, Coach Gary Bruner, and Allie Schrock to come on up here, please.
That's the shortest I've ever heard Paul Ritter say anything.
There's still time.
You're not getting it back. This is a resolution of the County Board of Livingston County, Illinois, recognizing Allie Schrock and her IHSA Girls Golf State Championship. Whereas on Saturday, October 14th, 2017, at the Red Tail Run Golf Course in Decatur, Illinois, Livingston County native Allie Schrock carded a final round score of 74 for a two-day total of 145 to win the 2017 Class 1A IHSA Girls Golf State Championship. And whereas the Livingston County Board is pleased to recognize athletic achievement and give special honor to those individuals who pursue such excellence that they bring great honor to their families, school, city, and Livingston County. And whereas Allie Schrock, for the IHSA Golf Champion in both Pontiac Township High School and Livingston County history, and whereas Allie Schrock's historic achievement, stellar play, and outstanding character should be publicly applauded and honored. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Board of Livingston County, Illinois, in regular session, that it does hereby honor and congratulate Allie Schrock for her outstanding 2017 season and state championship victory. Passed and approved the 16th day of November, 2017. Allie, we're proud of you. Turn around, face yours. Okay, Allie, okay, look at your dad. Allie, I will give you a chance to talk. I told you I wouldn't give your dad a chance, so you can talk. You got anything you want to say?
I want to thank you guys for recognizing me. It was amazing, and yeah, it showed how working hard like all summer and throughout the season to win that victory. Thank you.
I'll guarantee you, none of these board members behind me want to play golf either with you or against you. I've seen them play, so you're safe. Okay, thanks to both. Gary, you got anything you want to say? You're welcome to. Okay.
I will say that as good as she is at golf, she's equally as good at the classroom. She is a stellar all-star student. And so I think what stands out also is the fact that not only is she great, but she is truly a student athlete. And it's what we're proud of.
Thank you. Now I've invited Dwight's own Darrell Holt to please do the honors of introducing our Teacher of the Year, Lindsay Jensen.
Thank you. This is an honor. I'd like to introduce the Illinois Teacher of the Year for 2017-18, Lindsay Jensen, who is our English teacher in Dwight. And I also introduce her mom, Deb Karch. Deb is with the Dwight Economic Alliance. She's director. And Lindsay's name is in for the National Teacher of the Year for this year, so we wish her the best. Lindsay?
What an honor this is. I was in education all my life. Never would I even have been nominated for anything like that, let alone do anything like that. So I thought when I saw you in here that we were a student. So
I'll take that.
that's how old I'm getting. This is a resolution of the county board of Livingston County, Illinois, recognizing Lindsay Jensen, 2018 Illinois Teacher of the Year. Whereas the Illinois State Board of Education annually sponsors those who excel to honor individuals who have made significant contributions to our state's public and non-public elementary and secondary schools. And whereas on Saturday, October 28, 2017, the Illinois State Board of Education named Lindsay Jensen the 2018 Illinois Teacher of the Year, noting that Jensen exemplifies teacher leadership, and whereas the Livingston County Board is pleased to recognize personal achievement and give special commendation to those individuals who pursue such excellence that they bring great honor to Livingston County. And whereas Lindsay Jensen is the first Teacher of the Year in both Dwight Public Schools and Livingston County history, and whereas Lindsay Jensen's historic achievement and outstanding character should be publicly applauded and honored. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Board of Livingston County, Illinois, on regular session, that it does hereby honor and congratulate Mrs. Jensen for her outstanding achievement. Passed and adopted the 16th day of November, 2017.
She's won there in Dwight. Harvest Days?
Oh my goodness. Well. Well, forgive me because I'm still kind of processing all that has occurred in the last 2 weeks, and I just want to say that if this little personal accolade brings any attention to all of the great things that are happening in education in Livingston County, then I will be, I'll be a happy lady, because I'm just honored. I'm still in a bit of shock, and I appreciate all of your support. Truly, there are wonderful things happening throughout the county in education, and I was honored to be a part of an evening 2 weeks ago that celebrated all of the good things that are happening in education in the state of Illinois, which in my opinion doesn't happen enough. And I met some really wonderful educators from all across the state, and so I would like to give a personal shout out to that man right there, Mr. Chief Henson, who nominated me for the Illinois Teacher of the Year, which still feels so bizarre to say. Due to our involvement and our work together in advocating for the funding of Special Olympics, we've worked side by side to make that cool at DTHS, and I'm just so honored to be here. So thank you for inviting me to be here, and I promise I'm going to make you very proud in 2018. Thank you.
Okay, moving along
We got to do the resolution.
with our consent agenda.
Chairman Young,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
we need to do a roll call.
Oh, we haven't done a roll call yet?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolutions recognizing Ali Schrock and also recognizing Lindsay Jensen.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Marty.
that.
And Mr. Ingles, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call that? Okay.
And this is for both resolutions at once? Yes. Correct?
I think so.
Okay. Vietti.
Yes.
Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Weller. Gimbel. Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Steichen. Schaefer.
So I get 2 votes?
Oh, yeah, I called it.
Oh, you did the second time around?
Okay. We're all right, we think.
Yes, twice.
Thank you. Now we have the consent agenda, and we have the approval of the bills and the reappointment of Parnell Kennedy, Odell Fire Protection District, and the reappointment of Dr. Rinker, Livingston County Board of Health.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Bannon, Killian. Any, Fannin and Killian. Any discussion? Okay, then we'll go ahead and roll call that.
Vietti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Weller. Gimbel. Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll move public property to the first item on the agenda. So, Chairman Ingalls.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met as usual earlier this month, and the usual, I guess, nothing out of the ordinary in terms of the review from the 2 maintenance units. We did have a special meeting this evening, a couple items on the agenda. One was 2 necessary maintenance activities, one from each unit that very likely there is not enough money left in the budget as we near the end of the year, but the committee approved using contingency fund to accomplish both of those. The more significant item, without being terribly repetitious, I think most of you will remember that Chairman Young asked Marty Fannin and myself to join him in seeking out proposals to make comparative analysis of 3 different options for the antiquated H&E building, hoping that we can get by one more winter, as Chairman Young says, or has often said, actually. Those 3, I guess, options that we asked 2 different firms to evaluate were, number 1, a major remodeling of the existing facilities to bring it up to codes, bring it up to, you know, the type of utilities and everything that we would expect in a newer building. Possibly the option, as some have suggested, finding an existing building that could be rehabbed. The third option being to build a new facility to replace that the existing H&E building. We reached out to 2 firms, and we got proposals for both. And as I said earlier in the committee meeting, I think both firms clearly understood what we were looking for and the limited scope that we were looking for. Responded very well. The lower cost of the 2 came from the Farnsworth Group in the amount of $17,500 plus up to $250 for reimbursable expenses. With us this evening are 2 of the principals from Farnsworth that we met with. Neil Finland, who's one of the principals and a civil engineer, and Dave Bernenson, I'm going to butcher that again, Dave, who is also a principal and an architect. They were here and addressed some of the questions the committee had. And with that, if there are other questions, but I would make a motion that the resolution that's included in your packet approving that arrangement with the Farnsworth Group be approved.
I'll second that.
We got a second, it was Fannin.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board as a whole while Neil and Dave are here? The one comment I would make before we vote, and Dave, I thought, put it well before the committee. They're not designing a building. They're not doing major detailed work, obviously, for this kind of money. What they're really doing is facilitating, user groups, board members, and other people that are involved to find out what the basic needs are and then evaluate the three options at which would best suit our needs going forward. And the reason we're doing this rather quickly with a special meeting is we would like to, whatever we're going to do sooner rather than later because of a lot of the needs in terms of maintenance for that building, and we'd like to avoid that cost. So with that.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Getty. Bunny.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin.
No.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. Now we'll go back to the topic. Oh, no, John Slagle. You have a report on public housing, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a meeting today. It was pretty run-of-the-mill. They're updating some software to be more paperless over there. The St. James facility has met their occupancy goal of 85%, I guess a long time ago. And so they're expecting a payment from that. And the next meeting is going to be January 18th at 1 p.m. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Now we come back to the beginning of the agenda, and Chairman Schaefer, Finance Chair.
Now that most of my audience is gone, we have,
Maybe that's why.
that's, usually the crowds do take off once I start talking, so they got ahead of the game tonight. We have with us tonight Tom Blakeman. We had passed a resolution regarding an agreement with the city of Streeter and the disposition of that which is known as the Smith Douglas property. And what Tom hears tonight is talk about there was an approach to be taken in the original agreement. Further research has indicated that there's a better, less costly, more efficient way to do that. And Tom would fill you in a little bit about that. It'll be in the form of an amendment to that original agreement. Thank you, sir.
Back in April of 2016, an intergovernmental agreement was entered into with the city of Streeter concerning the Smith Douglas property over in South Streeter. It's roughly 123.6 acres of ground that the site was previously used for a fertilizer factory, and to say that it's contaminated is a major understatement. And the property has no significant value. Previously, the county clerk, treasurer, and assessor on behalf of the county agreed to conduct a special scavenger sale, and actually in the statute that term is used, scavenger, so that the city of Streeter ultimately could acquire the property in South Streeter, which they have now annexed and included in a TIF district. This process was going to be done by the county at the county's expense, and upon review, the scavenger sale is a very complicated process, and after consultation with experts in real estate tax law, including Steve Shrimp, who is a figure the county hires to handle the real estate tax sales, a more efficient and preferable way to handle the Smith Douglas property was determined, whereby the city of Streeter would do the work, pay the costs and expenses, and ultimately end up with the property. As a result of this change in direction, it's necessary to amend the intergovernmental agreement to authorize and approve this alternative procedure whereby the county would obtain a certificate of purchase from the county clerk's office and then transfer that certificate to the city of Streeter, then which would pursue legal action to have a tax deed issued to it where it would acquire ownership. This is done in such a way that ownership never passes to the county. There is no obligation or exposure to liability for the county. Although, as I said, ultimately it would pass to Streeter. Now, for some reason, this process doesn't work. There's part of the proposed agreement is that we'll go back and try to do the scavenger sale again. As part of the process, it's necessary for the chairman, with the advice and consult of the board, to appoint a county representative to apply to the county clerk for the certificate of purchase for the forfeited real estate taxes. And Barb was able to get me a revised figure, and as of, I think, today's date, those forfeited taxes going back to 1982 are $613,537.89. Now, I don't know if many of you are aware of what happened there, but the company that owned the ground filed for bankruptcy, I think, back in 1982. It's by the name of Borden Company, and no taxes have been paid, and it's not likely that anybody's taxes are going to be paid. So as part of this process, and this was mentioned to you, even under the scavenger sale process, the county forfeits its right to recover anything. Now, your chances of getting anything, I would say, are 0 to none, but you need to understand that. So you need to appoint, or the chairman, with the advice and consent of the board, needs to appoint a representative. That representative is proposed to be Alina, who's very familiar with this whole process. She's been involved with it for years. And there's a detailed process that we'll go through to get the job done. But you have before you an addendum to amend the original intergovernmental agreement and a resolution approving the addendum and authorizing the appointment of Alina to take the necessary administrative steps. Now, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Carolyn.
I take it there's no change since last week. We still don't know what they are planning to do with the property.
No.
And do you know when
We have asked that question a number of times, and what we get, what I get from a lawyer, I don't know what you get from the county, and what we get, they don't know either. They just know they want it. They're going to use kind of brownfield, is that the correct term?
Right.
Some kind of, and hope to get some grants to be able to improve the property and take away the environmental problems. I guess I forgot to mention that this property is very polluted, to say the least.
It's not polluted enough, though, to be a Superfund site because of the lack of human health. But it's not going to be, it doesn't rank high enough on the, to be a federal Superfund site. It's a state Superfund site. And so Borden has been keeping the berms maintained, last I heard, but I haven't looked into it for a number of years. When's the last time Borden actually worked on the site?
There's Chuck.
No, they haven't operated a business on the site, but they have voluntarily done work there to keep it from spilling into the tributary.
Well, I know that we had some work done with the equipment for understanding what the land was. That's the only work that I know of.
There originally, and there was a brownfield sort of proposal with, that Mr. Rutherford worked on. And then that fell through because of the governor. But anyway, I still want to know what the plan is for the property, because nobody does a brownfield project without having some kind of end use in mind. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good. With that, thank you, Tom.
Okay.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd motion the addendum be approved.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Holt got in. Now we've got two, we're gonna roll call this, but we've got two items here. One is to approve the transfer, and the other is the appointment of Alina, right?
Actually,
Huh? It's all one resolution. Okay,
Right.
it's all
And there's
together.
you're amending the prior intergovernmental agreement.
Right.
To provide for this alternative procedure.
Okay. Mr. Yoder?
Then we're still obligated to do the scavenger sale. Which is gonna get you to the same place ultimately.
Well,
John, we've already-
everybody-
Like I said,
they
you
took
have-
the initiative, Streeter took the initiative to do this, and this
Right.
has been going on probably 24 months. I suspicion in their mind it's longer than that. We don't know that, but I suspicion. And they were originally proposed this approach because they thought that was the best thing going. I'm sure as they perhaps researched it more deeply and somebody had the bright idea, say, why are you guys doing all that? Why don't you do this? This would be simpler and cleaner. So they're coming to this, say, guys, would you agree to do this simpler and cleaner? I don't think it's any more complicated than that, do you?
And it will save the county money in the sense that everything's gonna be done by a streeter, and including hiring an expert in real estate tax law. They've hired a law firm that kind of recommended this, so. The scavenger sale process would have cost the county some resources to get that done. So like I say, going back to your original question, you're still under an obligation to follow a procedure whereby ultimately it gets transferred to streeter. Yes. It's already in a TIF district. They've annexed the property and put it in a TIF district, even though they don't own it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Anything else? Okay, we'll roll call.
Vietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yep.
Killian,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Gerwin,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Farley, Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder, Fannin.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. A resolution for the 2017 year-end transfer. Tim?
Thank you, John. And our finance director, John Clemmer's got some commentary. It's that rolling time of the year where we finished up one year and hopefully, with everybody's approval, get started on another. John, thank you.
Correct. Good evening, everybody. This is a typical housekeeping chore that we do this time of year. It's required by statute. These are budget transfers. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 7 departments that at this point we were projecting would be over budget for their departments. So we traditionally, always historically, have a contingency line to cover these unexpected expenses. Those transfers total $150,400. County clerk, $2,500. Zoning board of appeals, $1,900. $2,500 in finance, $34,000 in sheriff. Jail, $95,000 even, $8,500 in circuit clerk, and public defender, $6,000. So again, I would also back up a step. When we're all said and done, we expect to be on expenses to be under budget by about 3% for fiscal year 17, and the contingency line this year was $210,000. So we're under that. So I think we're in good shape. This is routine. It's typical. There's really not anything extraordinary here.
Questions?
Questions?
Hearing
I
none,
see
I
Mr.
would,
Carley's enjoying this.
pardon? Ma'am. Oh, motion approved by Carolyn, second by Mr. Killian. Mr. Chairman? Take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll roll call that, please.
Vietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Killian, Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter, Gerwin, Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Farley, Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder, Fannin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. And item C, D, and E, I think it's like D, D, and E, but we'll say C, D, and E. C, D, and E, we can consider together, and what those are, deals with the levies for next year and covering mental health and developmentally disabled, CellCast, which I'm sure hoping everybody gets on because that's my ambulance service, and then all the general fund for 2017 levies payable in 2018. And we've got both John and Elena here if anybody has any questions in those regard. That's been throughout the budget process, that was begun in the early summer, and the budget that we negotiated, right or wrong word, but the budget we negotiated out with our departments over the course of the year, and this is the final step in that process. I'd motion that those be approved, sir.
In a second. Bunting. Okay, we'll roll call those three together.
Beatty? Yes. Bunning?
Yes.
Slagle?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Killian? Yes. Kestner?
Yes.
Ritter?
Yes.
Gerwin?
Yes.
Lovell?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Harley? Holt?
Yes.
Runyon?
Yes.
Mays?
Yes.
Heath?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Yoder? Yes. Fannin?
Yes.
Okay. And the last item I have is under item F, and now that we've authorized the gathering of the money, now we've got to authorize its expenditure, the appropriations ordinance. So I would, Mr. Chairman, I would motion we approve that as well.
Good.
I'll second that.
Who was the second on that? Fannin. Any discussion? Okay, we'll roll call that one.
Beatty?
Yes.
Bunning?
Yes.
Slagle?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Killian? Yes. Kestner?
Yes.
Ritter?
Yes.
Gerwin?
Yes.
Lovell?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Kimball? Carly? Holt?
Yes.
Runyon?
No.
Mays?
Yes.
Heath?
Yes.
Weber? Young?
Yes.
Yoder? Fannin?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to thank the fellows that are leaving, and I want to thank everybody else, committee members, and our department heads, and all those folks sitting over in that corner of the room. And Lena and John did a nice job once again, and thank you very much.
And I think, Tim, we'd be remiss if we didn't give you a tremendous amount of thanks and appreciation for a job leading us. Well done. Okay, Chairman Bunning, Highway Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will yield the floor to Vice Chairman Runyon as he served as acting chair in my absence. Mark?
Thanks, Jason. We just got a couple items tonight, a couple bridge petitions. We got our county engineer, Clay, here. I'll turn the microphone over to him.
Good evening. So we have just a couple of petitions for you. One is in Amity Road District. It's a pipe culvert replacement. And then the second one is on the Long Point Amity Township line, and it is a bridge replacement. The bridge replacement's scheduled for FY 18-19, probably going to get built in 19. But the pipe will be done this either yet this year or early next year. So these both are located just northwest of Cornell, or west of Cornell on the bridge.
I'll make the motion to approve both of these in one motion.
Who was the second?
Yoder.
Okay. Who did? Oh, Yoder. Yoder. Okay, any discussion? Mrs. Gerwin?
Yes.
Can you use your microphone, please?
All right. My question is, how is that determination, and I don't need a big, long explanation, but I guess, how do you determine whether or not to replace a bridge, number one? And number two, have we ever not replaced a bridge? Or do we just replace every structure without doing, I mean, do we do a review of whether or not we still need this structure at that level of strength? Thank you.
So the evaluation process is pretty much by the township commissioner comes to the county and petitions for aid. That's what this is. The petition is asking the county for aid. So we evaluate at the department, A, where our balances are and what fund it might be able to be used or part of. But we also are looking at the need for the structure and the location. Typically, we're trying to keep the roads open, that are open, and there's less liability involved when you do that. As far as closing roads, we have had more trouble, it seems like, with accidents because a bridge that's closed has to be maintained as a closure. So if we are able to fund it, then we look towards funding to get it back open as soon as possible. Priority is given to either A, a closed bridge, which we are given the closure notice by the state of Illinois. If a bridge is over 20 feet long, it has to be inspected every 2 years. The inspection data goes into the state of Illinois' system for structures, and then they will do follow-up inspections on that structure to evaluate whether it's capable of handling the current loads. In this case, this bridge, we were notified that it went to a 6-ton posting. It was at full open status and had full weights on it, which were legal loads of 80,000 on a properly configured vehicle, and it went to 6 tons in the matter of 1 letter. I mean, and that was after the evaluation had gone through and they went and found some cracks and welds on some beams on this particular structure. And so they sent the notice to us and we posted it for 6 tons. So we look at several things before we make the decision to recommend replacement. In this case, we had 2 townships involved and there was some discussion, but they both eventually agreed that they wanted to replace the bridge and request the county for aid on that. This is Township Bridge Program is funding that we receive as part of motor fuel tax for the state, and it's a portion of that. The state sets aside $15 million for the entire state, and Livingston County gets a portion of that amount based on the number of bridges that we have. So I don't know if I've answered your question fully, but we do try to evaluate each location.
So what percentage of it are we paying for versus what percentage paid by the township and what percentage is paid by the state?
Okay, so the estimate was at $350,000. The engineering portion of it, we'll have an engineering agreement that I'll be bringing to the board probably next month. That will be split 50-50 between the township and the 2 townships in the county. The townships themselves will split that based on their assessed valuation, which in this case is almost 50-50 again between the 2 of them. So that's the engineering portion. The construction portion is split 80% from Township Bridge Program, and then 20% is then split 50-50 between the county and the townships.
Second question was, have we ever not replaced a bridge?
There have been a few closures that have remained throughout. It's not been in my time, but I know prior to that, I think there's even some maybe over in Round Grove and one in Amity that I'm aware of that was on the river. And those are the ones that I'm aware of. But and we do have a closure that wasn't a structure by definition of being over 20 feet in Reading Township currently on 100 East.
Thank you. It's a big part of our budget, so thanks for managing it for us.
Well, Carolyn, I will tell you, you know, you might want to come to and I mean this sincerely, come to a highway meeting because Clay really has good photographs, puts them up on the screen, and even somebody like me don't even know what I'm looking for. You can see the cracks or the eroding or the problem. So
Yeah, I have
Feel free.
I have attended a few, and, you know, I see the pictures too, and, but then there's also the issue of usage and, you know, do we still need it? So I just wanted,
I don't care what the usage is. If it's only used once and it's by me and it falls in, I'm unhappy.
Well, Bob, guess what?
well, that's, the point is, you know, there's changes in the economy, there's changes in usage, and it's possible that we don't need to maintain every bridge that was built in 1950, you know? That's my point, so, thank you.
Okay, Clay,
Jason?
as a teachable moment here, can we have a quick conversation on what has been happening here recently with some of these bridges and weight limits put on them? As a small business owner, as a farmer, when I see a 6-ton posting on a road and I cannot drive anything across it, it makes life difficult. So can you kind of talk about where we're at with how many roads we've got or bridges we've got currently weight limited?
I can address that. The structure definition, again, was over 20 feet is what's required to be inspected every 2 years. So we have in Livingston County over 450 structures that are greater than 20 feet. We still have another 800 plus structures that are falling within that, I'm going to say 7-foot to 20-foot range. I've had this discussion with the committee already that we have an era of bridges that are in the 20s to 50s that were built that's going to come due all at the same time. So your question is completely valid, that we have to eventually make some decisions about what roads and what bridges we are going to replace as the money continues to be used elsewhere or not go as far by the state of Illinois. So at this moment, we're still trying to do a replacement as they come up based on the need of the traffic and the load posting that occurs, or if it's a closure. But at some point, we are going to have to hit and make the decision about it. What Jason is also referring to is the state went through a new rating system and required to by the federal government in their load posting or load metrics, the metrics of the bridges, in order to analyze them. In that process and through the analyzing of each bridge, they had to have plans, they had to have a lot more of information, which we provided. And once it was provided and the new loadings that have been allowed by statute are causing many of those bridges to become posted now that were not before. So some of it is that we're getting restrictions without tremendous change or degrading of the bridge. So it's very frustrating on our part to have to go and post that bridge for the locals. I think they're being very conservative, and that's okay. But in this case, they did find some problems, and so they were pulling it down to a 6-ton posting.
Mr. Killian, you've had a question, I think.
Yeah, I've got a couple. We'll tie them all together. When it was originally built 50, 60 years ago, and it's down to 6-ton now. And of course, then they do a traffic routing. I mean, as far as, you know, farmers using it, but school buses and emergency fire department and that stuff all have to be involved.
Yeah, they're notified in the process. The township puts up signs. We put one up at each end of the mile so that people can turn and go somewhere else. The trucking folks, and we also put signs at the bridge. We're required to, and then we notify the state. It gets into the system. It's also on a website for anybody that is in traveling through Livingston County. The original rating, your question about that, this is a structure that was done at a time when you could do some different things than you can do now. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
You could, you weren't required to go through quite as many design standards as what you are now. So it's not passing mustard at this point, is what it amounts to for the design criteria. So there was no original rating on that
Oh,
design.
none at all.
And what's happened is in these metrics, they've taken away what they call engineering judgment in the evaluation of the bridge based on the existing conditions. If there's no plans and they don't know what was in it, then they have some requirement to then rate it down further.
Okay, thank you, Clay. Yes, Mr. Yoder. Yeah.
Emergency? Certainly, yes.
So, by, yeah, he allowed our roads to be used at greater.
He allowed state roads.
Yes.
So it doesn't affect our.
My understanding is that is what, you're correct, Jason. It was on state system. And
State
One
highways.
of the county engineers did.
A 10% leeway for 45 days, yes.
At first I did say yes, and I had forgotten that there was clarification later that it was for the state roads. Correct.
Mr. Yoder, to do it correctly, they had to get with the county engineers or a county representative and the township engineers to be able to get it. But yes, Governor Rauner did sign a emergency harvest, and which is being used pretty heavily in northern Illinois. But as far as right now, we are far enough along in our harvest that we didn't have to worry about it. But you fertilizer trucks need to stay where you're at.
Okay, I think we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Could we go ahead and call for a roll call vote, please?
Piety. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle. Oh.
Left.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Harley. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Thanks, Clay. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
That's it? Okay, moving along, we go to Chairman Holt, Ag and Zoning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have three things on the agenda. Well, Chuck is on his way up here to explain them. I'll say that we have one from Deegan Associates, which gives their proposal regarding wages for the upcoming year. We have a spiller pays ordinance for you to approve. And we also have the all hazard mitigation plan for your approval.
Okay, the first thing on your agenda is the proposal and work agreement from Deegan Associates. He is the consultant that we use for landfill issues and has been for a number of years. So this is an extension of that agreement. One of the major changes this year in the agreement is that when looking at the personalities planning, the second person down is Stephen Schilling, who is an engineer getting charged at a higher rate than we used in the past. Mr. Schilling is somebody that has more experience than he's had under his junior engineers in the past. Mr. Deegan does like to hire people out of college so he can educate them and move them and use them. Mr. Schilling's been in the business for a number of years, and for the committee's sake, we did have a profile as far as his qualifications and job that goes along with that. So that's the major change in regards to that. And since Mr. Schilling was hired earlier this year, he's done a considerable amount of work for Livingston County. When we had the subsurface fire at the landfill earlier this year, he was the primary person that kind of took charge of that, and it actually educated me more as far as temperatures and gas balances and stuff like that in regards to it.
With that, I would move that they approve the proposal and work agreement with Deegan Associates.
Who gave the second? Okay, Carly. Discussion? Okay, all those, or we'll have a roll call vote.
Piety. Bunning.
Yes.
Schaefer. Killian.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Harley. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
We also have a spiller pays ordinance with, Chuck will give you an update on it.
Sure. Paul, you introduced this. Did you want to say a couple words about it or anything like that? Or?
I think really the ordinance explains itself quite well. I think that this is a way for us to protect ourselves and our county and our assets, along with our resources and our individuals. And I think really the whole ordinance speaks very well for itself.
Just, there is some statutes and administrative rules that does allow for this, but there is some concern as far as the state of the state finances and their administration, that possibly something get lost in the way, and that we could do this as a way to cover ourselves, make sure that we get paid for this. And for several months, if you paid attention to the committee minutes, we did go through several months in editing this and coming up with the final document. So.
My motion would be then to approve this spiller pays ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Who's Ritter? Is it-
Okay?
Oh, hold on, already made it. You got a second?
Thanks, Paul. Vote yes, then, would you?
Okay, I think we had a question.
Hopefully quick questions. What was the source of the language? Was it a model?
Effingham County. It was a.
The original language came from Effingham County, but in the process, we actually looked at a number of counties.
It's proposed starting with that language, and I thought it was kind of minimal. So I did a Google search, and one of the primary areas we used was Kankakee County, but they had some issues in there that I was not terribly fond of the wording. So what you see is a combination and an editing of something that ended up being our own, as far as there was language from Effingham County used, some Kankakee County language used, and some of our own language to make it work.
Have any of them actually used it to enforce actions against polluters?
Not that I'm aware of.
And was it reviewed by counsel for the county?
It was.
Okay, thank you.
Did approve it, yes.
Okay, and I think we can voice vote.
Did have one other thing I noticed that on page 3, it says, any such person shall be guilty of a violation of this section and shall be fined not less than $100. But like, it doesn't say what's the top limit. Not less than $100, but, you know, up to $1 million, or, I mean, where's?
Yeah.
Like,
Charge more than we want to.
Okay, now we can have a voice vote, can't we? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, passed.
Okay, the all hazards mitigation plan.
Okay, this is a plan we adopted several years ago. What it is that this is up for a 5-year update. When there's a disaster in Illinois, 10% of the funds that go to that disaster fund goes to mitigation. And part of that funding can be used for mitigating. The best example is this doesn't only cover the county. As you go through, we'll invite all the municipalities in. So if flooding would happen in Pontiac again, and some of the homes would be destroyed so they could not be no longer used, there's a mechanism that the federal government could take some mitigation funding, pay it to the city or through the city, and have them demolish those homes and create open land or parkland. And one of the new mechanisms is, in order to get that funding, you have to have an all hazards mitigation plan. So we're creating that or continuing that effort in order to do that. So that's what this plan is. And to go through it, FEMA has a lot of rules and regulations to do it. We had a consultant help us the first time when we did it, and this time we're asking a consultant to do it again. The FEMA grant pays for 80% of it. There's 20% in kind, and I've been assured by the consultant, just looking at his agreement that tonight, is that we'll meet that in kind payment by my time that I put into it, by having a series of meetings where we'll have different municipalities come in and look at it. Some supplies that we'll be providing in towards it, printing of documents and so forth like that. So that's where we'll come up with the in kind payment for that.
Thank you, Judd.
And just, there was a time frame on this. The consultant agreed to submit the application, so the application has been submitted. It's actually been approved on the state level, and it's been forwarded to the federal or FEMA level for approval on that, so we're already in the process of doing this. If we do get approved for it, it'd be approved probably late winter or spring of next year. We'll probably start on the project next summer, late summer, early fall, and it takes several months to go through there. So this is not a project that's going to go bang, bang, bang. So, okay.
My motion would be to approve the updated all hazard mitigation plan.
And Bunning second. Any other questions about it? Okay, we'll roll call that, please.
Piety. Bunning.
Yes.
Schaefer. Killian. Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter. Gerwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Harley. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We were moving right along. Sheriff Jail and License, Chairman Kestner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our committee met in the committee room and was well attended with the two jail superintendents and the proactive sergeant and Mr. Baker, the probation officer, director. We received the probation quarterly report and also the fiscal year 2018 holiday schedule, which the committee approved. We received the Cook County Federal Report. We're now housing 143 inmates total, 39 from Northern District, 14 Central, 34 from Cook County, 56 from Livingston County. Income the past month was $142,885 for housing, reimbursement, and $12,127 for transportation. A grand total of $156,195 for the jailer's work over there. Mr. Ritter presented a brief talk on pharmaceutical take-back of meds, which was interesting. He also recognized the Livingston County Sheriff's Department for participating in that effort. The proactive sergeant reported 23 heroin arrests last month, reported by Sergeant Hamilton. We also approved the transfer of ownership for Carriage Lane Estates and South Streeter. Interestingly enough, the new owner's company name is Elena Mother Earth. Oh, Mothership. Mothership from Colorado. And they will be under the same management. The gentleman will still be managing it. And I think I'll make a motion that the mobile home park license change of ownership for Carriage Lane Estates be approved.
Second to that.
Bunting.
Okay, Mr. Killian, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
We also make a motion for the fiscal year 2018 holiday schedule for the employees be approved.
Okay, you didn't make the motion, Kestner?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You got the second again, Ritter.
I'm going to second on this one.
Okay.
Okay, this could be a voice vote. Any discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, same sign.
We also,
Aye.
Who was
Who's
that?
aye,
Oh.
Carolyn?
We also approved a raffle license for the Pontiac Sportsman's Club, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Personnel Committee, who's the vice chair? I'm ready, Mr. Beatty. Okay, you did well. Okay, Chairman Fannin, election rules and legislative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We approved and forwarded for approval by the board the reappointment of Parnell Kennedy to the Odell Fire Protection District and the reappointment of Dr. Rinker to the Livingston County Board of Health. We also opened up discussions on redistricting and reapportionment and came to the decision that we would send or ask UCCI for their help in gathering information to help us make those decisions. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Station, Mr. Yoder, do you have anything on veterans?
Bailey was, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bailey gave us the report, monthly report, and bills and transportation expenses are down and we're under budget.
Okay, thank you. IT, Chairman Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John indicated that he spent a good majority of the month working on laptops. Since the server changed, all the laptops needed to be updated for the Sheriff's Department. He's also working with the Sheriff's Department and 911 on hooking up the school camera systems so they can be viewed within the dispatch center. And our cyber insurance renewal came in with an increase of $708 over last year's premium. The cyber insurance mitigates the financial impact of any data breaches, and the committee approved that, and that is my report.
Thank you. Okay, as far as the administrative committee, I think it's been an awful busy month, but I think the committee report pretty well took in everything that was going on, so I'm going to cut that short so we can move along. Mr. Station's not here for the Recreation Committee report, so we'll go right to public comment. Anybody out in the public like to speak?
I'll be brief. Some of you may not know, I'm Joe Vaughn. I'm the Director of IHR Counseling Services. So I'm also a tenant with this health and education building, and I wanted the board to kind of be aware of that. I have approximately 15 offices within the older part of the building, a group room, a couple of group rooms. So the reason I'm bringing it up is I have not been involved in any discussion up to this point as far as what the plan is. And I understand there's going to be a study, which is fine. I just want to be able to tell my board or educate my board in terms of what could be coming down the pike, so to speak, because I'm not sure. You talk about the public health and mental health. Are you including IHR in that, or are we outside of that? That's what I don't know.
I don't think we've made that determination or discussion yet. We haven't even determined possibly that part of the building you're in, maybe much of that can be saved and renovated. I'm not sure we even own that building. Who built it? Didn't the Humiston Trust build it?
So there's been 3 additions to IHR, and Humiston Trust assisted with 2 of those. And then what my previous director did is just give it back to the county as a county property. So we expended capital to build it, and then he gave it back.
Well, I mean, you know, we're just in the infancy, as you could tell, because you were at the meeting. We hired our first firm tonight. So, you know, as the process goes along, they'll be discussing things with you.
Okay.
And the county board committee will be as well. And you'll be in the loop when we get to that part of it.
Okay. I just want to, because I know my board's going to ask, and I didn't want to not mention that because at this point, I have not been involved. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Any other questions on that?
It was good, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session.
I'm not ready for that yet,
Oh,
Mr. Ritter.
dang.
I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session.
I would like to make that motion.
Mr. Ritter. Mr. Bunning. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
Roll call it.
Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Schaefer. Killian. Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes, I do.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays. Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Bannon.
Yes.